I wasn't supposed to be home that night. That simple fact kept echoing in my head as I turned the key and stepped inside. It was a Thursday. Erin thought I was still out in Denver wrapping up a client meeting that got canceled last minute. I didn't text. Didn't call. I just drove straight home from the airport hoping to surprise her. Maybe I should have called. The house was quiet, but not in the peaceful way I remembered. The bedroom light was still on, which was strange. It was past 11. And the first thing I heard as I closed the front door wasn't the TV or music, but the faint sound of something clinking. Like someone washing dishes in a hurry. The kind of hurry that doesn't match the hour. I stood in the hallway for a second, listening. The place smelled faintly like lavender and warm food. But beneath it something unfamiliar. Cologne. Not strong, but noticeable. Too masculine, too out of place in our otherwise neutral home. I started walking upstairs, trying to tell myself it was nothing. That maybe she had a candle burning. Or that maybe I'd forgotten what my own cologne smelled like after 3 days on the road. But the pit in my stomach told a different story. The kind that builds slowly, wordless, heavy, crawling under your ribs before you realize what it is. The first thing I noticed was the jacket. It was slung carelessly over the back of the armchair in our bedroom. Black, sleek, definitely not mine. Expensive looking too. Erin always hated clutter. She wouldn't just leave someone's jacket like that unless she was distracted. Or trying too hard to act natural. On the nightstand, next to her closed laptop and a glass of water, sat a single gold hoop earring. Erin wore studs almost every day. She said hoops made her ears ache. But there it was, like a dropped clue in a poorly written mystery. Our bed was made, but not well. One side was perfectly smoothed out. The other had an indentation in the pillow, the covers slightly dented, like someone had been lying there not too long ago. Erin rarely made the bed at night unless she had a reason. She always said, "Why bother? I'm just gonna mess it up again." Then came the bathroom. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open and saw the trash bin with a makeup wipe right on top, still damp. I picked it up with 2 fingers. Foundation, eyeliner, lipstick, stuff she didn't usually wear unless she was going out somewhere nice. Or trying to look good for someone else. There was water still in the sink. The hand towel was twisted like someone had grabbed it fast and thrown it down. I stared at myself in the mirror, heart racing, hands cold. And then I heard the creak of the stairs. Erin's footsteps. I stepped back into the bedroom just as she appeared in the doorway wrapped in the gray bathrobe I'd bought her for Christmas last year. Her hair was damp, twisted up into a loose bun. Her face was bare, no makeup. She looked surprised, but not shocked. "Oh my God," she said, placing a hand on her chest like she was startled. "Trevor, you scared me." I said nothing. Just looked at her. My eyes flicked to the earring on the table. Then to the jacket. Then back to her face. She followed my gaze but didn't react. "I thought you weren't coming back until tomorrow," she added, her voice calm, like this was some minor inconvenience. Like I had caught her watching a movie too late, not possibly hiding another man. "I wasn't," I replied. My voice sounded flat to my own ears. "Flight got moved. Figured I'd surprise you." She nodded once, slowly. "Well, I'm glad you're home." There was a pause, just long enough to let the tension settle. I gestured to the jacket without really meaning to. "That yours?" She glanced at it. "Oh, that? No. That's James's. He came by earlier. I was helping him move some stuff from Michelle's place. He must have left it." "James," I repeated. "From work." She nodded quickly. "Yeah, project team. You've met him once. Kind of tall, always talks too fast. Right? The same guy she used to refer to as annoying. Now she was helping him move? Didn't know you were that close." She let out a soft laugh. "I mean, we're coworkers. I was free tonight, he needed help, and I didn't really feel like sitting around watching reruns again. Figured I'd be useful." I looked at the earring again. "And the earring?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. "Oh," she said, glancing at it like she'd forgotten it was there. "That's mine. I must have taken it off earlier. Thought I lost it, actually." "Huh." I looked her straight in the eyes. "Funny. Thought you said hoops hurt your ears?" Her smile faltered just a hair. Barely noticeable, but it was there. "Well, yeah, the big ones do. That one's smaller. I tried wearing them again. Not a crime, right?" Her voice had a little edge to it now, but the delivery was still smooth. Too smooth. It reminded me of someone presenting a pitch, not just speaking, but trying to land it. I stepped past her into the hallway, not really sure where I was going. Maybe just away from that room. She followed me. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm tired," I said. "Been a long day?" She hesitated at the door. "Trevor, nothing happened tonight. You can ask James yourself if you don't believe me." I didn't say anything happened. But you think something did? I stopped walking. Turned to her. Her arms were folded across her chest now, like she was defending herself before I even made an accusation. I just came home early, I said. That's all. We stood there, facing each other in the dim hallway light. She looked calm, composed, almost indifferent. Like she'd already rehearsed how this conversation would go. Like she'd been preparing for it. And maybe she had. I didn't argue. Didn't accuse. I just nodded and went downstairs. Sat on the couch and stared at the blank TV screen for a long time while she stayed upstairs. I could hear her pacing once or twice. Then silence. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I stayed on the couch, wrapped in a throw blanket, trying to ignore the gnawing sensation in my chest. I kept hearing her voice, steady, logical, friendly. The kind of tone you use when you're trying to sell something. It wasn't what she said that broke me. It was how well she said it. Like she'd done it before. And right then, something inside me cracked. Quietly. Permanently. In the days that followed, I kept replaying everything, our conversations, the jacket, the earring, the scent in the air. I didn't confront her again. I didn't need to. Whatever I thought I knew, whatever I felt, I carried it with me like a second skin. And it changed how I saw everything that came next. I didn't go looking for proof, not at first. I told myself I wasn't going to be that guy. The jealous husband. The snooper. But the truth was I was already knee-deep in it. The moment doubt settled in, it infected everything. Erin went back to normal like nothing happened. She was chipper at breakfast, texting while sipping her coffee, humming along to some Spotify playlist like it was just another Wednesday. She started going to the gym more, always late at night. It helps me sleep, she said. And that might have been believable if she hadn't started dressing like she was going to a party instead of a treadmill. Tight leggings. Full makeup. Hair done. Perfume. Always perfume. She never used to wear it to the gym. And she always left her phone behind before. Yeah? It went everywhere. And not just in her hand, she'd tuck it into her back pocket, screen down, or carry it in her purse like it was some kind of radioactive material. Whenever it buzzed, she'd glance at it quickly, then flip it upside down without replying. One night, I got up to grab water around 1 a.m. She wasn't home yet. Said she'd gone for a late workout, that she lost track of time. Her hair was still perfectly styled when she walked in, and her makeup looked refreshed, not smudged. I didn't say anything. I just handed her a bottle of water and said I was going back to bed. But that feeling, the ache in my gut, the crawl under my skin, it never left. I began remembering things I buried. Patterns. Hints. Little flashes that used to seem harmless but now screamed at me in retrospect. Like how she suddenly got really into yoga about 4 months ago. She signed up for a new studio that was more boutique than the place she used to go. She'd never cared about boutique anything before. But suddenly she was going 4-5 times a week. It's just a good release, she said. I believed her. God help me, I believed her. And then there were the work trips. They used to be rare. Now they were monthly. Sometimes twice a month. She started getting vague about the details. No more printed itineraries lying around. No more casual flights at 3 hotels, this one downtown. She used to ask for my help booking them. After all, I'd built the back end for their CRM system used to manage her company's travel portal. But lately, she booked everything herself. One trip in particular stood out. Portland. Mid-October. She said it was a company retreat, 2 nights in some resort up in the mountains. I remember trying to call her that Saturday. Just wanted to say goodnight. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried again. And again. No response until 11 a.m. the next day. Sorry, she texted. Reception up here is garbage. But everything's great. Miss you. That was it. I brushed it off then. Gave her the benefit of the doubt. I didn't want to be the guy who accused his wife of cheating over a dropped call. But now I saw it differently. She came back from that trip glowing. Not the sun-kissed kind of glow. Not relaxation. Something else. Excitement? Guilt? I couldn't place it at the time. But she hugged me a little too tight when she came home. Kissed me a little too slow. And I mistook that for love. It wasn't love. She also started talking about a guy at work, Justin. At first, just in passing. Justin wants to switch the Q4 roadmap, or Justin's team can't get their numbers together. Normal stuff. And then his name started showing up more often. Justin and I are meeting late tomorrow, or Justin's flying to Portland with us. I asked, you and Justin do a lot of projects together? She shrugged. Yeah, he's just the one they always pair me with. He's harmless. That word. Harmless. I didn't think much of it. Justin sounded like a quiet, awkward office guy. The kind who forgets lunch and fumbles through PowerPoint slides. But then I remembered the jacket. Black. Sleek. Not awkward. Not harmless. After the Portland trip, Justin's name came up less and less. It was like she'd made a point to stop mentioning him entirely. And that silence? It was louder than anything. One night, I walked past her phone while she was in the shower. A message popped up. I didn't touch it. Didn't even look hard. Just saw a name, J, and a heart emoji next to it. It vanished before I could read the text. When she came out, she was smiling, humming, towel in her hair. The same towel I used to wrap her in after beach trips. That night, I lay in bed with my eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling fan while she slept beside me. My heart beat like I was sprinting. I didn't know what I was expecting to find. I didn't want to be right, but I was starting to think I already was. At work, I couldn't concentrate. I started forgetting meetings, replying to emails twice, snapping at people who didn't deserve it. I'd walk into a room and forget why I was there. My mind was a reel stuck on repeat. Erin's robe. The cologne. The jacket. Her voice saying, "It's just James." It wasn't just James. And I wasn't just being paranoid. Then one night, I sat in the living room after she'd gone to bed. I stared at her work tablet sitting on the coffee table. She rarely used it at home. Mostly kept it for presentations. But that night, it was there, screen lit up, still logged in. I shouldn't have. But I did. I tapped the photo app first. And that's when everything began to unravel. The thumbnails loaded slowly, our anniversary photo, a few memes, screenshot asterisk TS of meeting notes, and then a photo of a breakfast spread on a balcony. 2 plates. 2 mugs. A folded newspaper. Nothing suspicious on its own. But in the reflection of the glass door behind it, I saw them, Erin and a man. His hand on her waist. Her face tilted toward him, smiling. I zoomed in. It wasn't James. It was Justin. Another photo. Wine glasses clinking. Candles. Her wearing that red dress I hadn't seen in months. A third, both of them in matching hotel robes, standing on a balcony. His arms slung around her like it belonged there. And then the final one, her lying back on a hotel bed, smiling at the camera. Not a selfie. Taken by someone else. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours. My face felt numb. My hands were steady, but everything inside me screamed. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the tablet. I just locked the screen, set it down, and stood there. She had lied to me. Over and over. And I had believed her because I wanted to. Because I needed to. I went into the kitchen, opened the drawer where we kept spare chargers and scissors, and placed my wedding ring inside. I closed the drawer softly. No drama. No theatrics. And then I walked upstairs, packed a single bag, and left before the sun came up. She would wake to silence. No note. No argument. Just an empty side of the bed and a ring in a drawer, because sometimes silence says everything. I didn't go far that first night. Just drove until the roads got quiet and the streetlights thinned out. I found a cheap extended stay motel near the edge of town, the kind of place where nobody asks questions and you're just another guy with tired eyes and a suitcase too small for a full life. I paid for 3 nights in advance and didn't give my name. The room smelled like cleaning fluid and cigarette smoke, and the sheets felt like plastic, but it didn't matter. I wasn't there to be comfortable. I was there to be alone. The silence helped. At least it did for a few hours. But my mind was far from quiet. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone buzzing with texts I didn't check, staring at the same ceiling fan that every low-rent motel seems to have. I had seen the pictures. I knew the truth. But somehow a part of me still wanted to find a way to not know it. As if maybe, just maybe, there was some explanation I hadn't thought of yet. That she could spin this into something less than betrayal. Something survivable. That's when I remembered the portal. Erin's company had used a CRM I helped set up back when they were still small, before they were acquired and everything got slick and corporate. I wasn't supposed to have access anymore, but old accounts have a way of lingering if no one bothers to disable them. I hadn't touched that system in over a year. But that night I logged in. Her travel history was still linked to the back end, dates, times, locations, hotel confirmations. I clicked through each record, starting with that Portland retreat. She had said it was a solo trip, a company retreat in the mountains. But the booking said otherwise. 1 room. 2 guests. Check-in, Friday, 3:42 p.m. Check-out, Sunday, 11:05 a.m. Room type, king suite. 2 breakfasts included. My heart sank lower with each click. The second guest? Justin Marlowe. His name was right there on the confirmation. I clicked through a few more trips. Same pattern. Conferences in Chicago, Austin, and Vancouver. Different hotels. Same second guest. Always him. Always a king suite. It was never business. I dug deeper, clicking on the digital receipts. There was one from Portland, room service at 11:58 p.m. 2 desserts, champagne, extra towels. A handwritten thank you note from the concierge. We hope you and your partner enjoyed your romantic weekend getaway. I nearly threw the laptop. I sat back, stunned. I don't know how long I stayed that way. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal, it was the intentionality. The planning. The effort it takes to cover up a double life. The fact that while I was working late to cover our mortgage and making sure she had everything she needed, she was out there building something with someone else. And she made it look easy. I found myself opening her work tablet again, the one I'd taken with me on impulse when I left. It wasn't password protected, and at this point, I wasn't above looking where I wasn't supposed to. This time, I went through her gallery. Not the thumbnails, the albums. That's where she'd stashed them. A hidden folder titled Cloud Sync Temp. There were photos from each of the trips. Sunsets from balconies. Wine on a rooftop. A mirror selfie of her in a hotel robe, her head resting on Justin's shoulder. Her caption, "Can't believe this is real, Ray Hart." Another one, the two of them at a winery, arms around each other. His hand on the small of her back. Her head thrown back in laughter. The file name auto-generated by her phone read, IMG_1029_ Justin and me. There was even a video. She was sitting at a cafe table, holding the camera low, recording herself whispering, "Trevor still doesn't know. I think he's suspicious, but it's okay, we'll be more careful." Then she turned the camera to Justin, who was grinning like a teenager sneaking around his parents' house. I didn't watch the rest. I slammed the tablet shut and set it aside. I was breathing hard, like I'd just run a mile in a thunderstorm. My heart thudded against my ribs and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the way they mocked me. The way they treated this whole thing like a game. Like I was some obstacle to maneuver around, some clueless caricature of a husband in a sitcom. Like my pain would be an afterthought at best. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I checked out early and drove aimlessly for a while before pulling into a quiet cafe on the other side of town, the kind of place where no one knew me. I ordered a black coffee and sat in the corner watching the rain smear across the windows. It hit me then just how much time I had spent trying to not see the truth. I remembered every time I'd given her the benefit of the doubt, every excuse I had swallowed because I wanted to believe in us. In her. But the truth was here now and it wasn't going anywhere. I texted my boss to say I needed a few days. Then I drove to a storage facility I remembered passing a few weeks back and rented a unit. I didn't know why. I just knew I couldn't go home yet. Not even to pack. I stayed in that cafe for 3 hours, scrolling through every message thread I could find, every saved email, every interaction between Aaron and Justin that I could access. I read it all. Their nicknames. The jokes at my expense. The daydreams they shared about a future together without me. One message read, "I feel like we're almost there. Just a little longer and we can stop pretending." Pretending. Like our marriage was just some tired costume they couldn't wait to take off. That afternoon, I drove back to our house while she was still at work. I didn't go inside. Just sat in the car, staring at the place we used to call home. I thought about leaving something on the kitchen table, a letter, maybe. Something final. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I went around the back and retrieved a spare key we'd hidden under a ceramic frog 3 years ago. I let myself in, walked to the bedroom and took only what I needed, a few clothes, my passport, my old sketchbook, and a single photo, us on our 3rd anniversary sitting under a string of lights at a rooftop bar in Charleston. The night I thought we were untouchable. On my way out, I paused by the kitchen drawer. The one where she kept extra chargers and batteries. I opened it, placed my wedding ring inside, and closed it without a sound. I didn't leave a note. I didn't need to. Let her wonder where I went. Let her dig through her lies looking for a map. I drove to the storage unit and unpacked what little I had. I sat down on the cold floor and stared at the wall. And in that silence, for the first time in days, I allowed myself to cry. Not because I missed her, but because I had finally accepted something I'd spent too long denying. She was never coming back to me. Because she'd never left him. I didn't expect the key. Not from her. Came a few days after I disappeared. I was staying in a short-term apartment on the other side of town. A shoebox of a place with peeling paint and carpet that had given up trying to look clean. I kept the windows closed and the TV off. I didn't want distractions. I didn't want comfort. I wanted space. The key came in a plain white envelope, tucked into the mail slot at the front desk of the building. The concierge. A bored college kid in a hoodie handed it to me without looking up from his phone. "This was dropped off for you." Guy said it was urgent. I turned it over. No return address. No note. Just a key and a locker number scribbled on the flap. Unit 217B. For a second, I thought maybe it wasn't from her. Maybe it was from Justin, or someone at her office. But my name was written in her handwriting. Neat, sharp, unmistakably Aaron. I stared at it for hours. I didn't want to go. I told myself I wouldn't. But curiosity has a gravity all its own, and grief makes you do strange things. That night, I drove to the facility. It was the kind with corrugated metal doors and flickering fluorescent lights overhead. The kind you pass on the highway and never think about again. Rows of units stretched in every direction, their padlocks catching the pale yellow light. I found 217B near the back. The key fit perfectly. The lock clicked open with a sound that somehow felt louder than it should have been. When I rolled the door up, I expected. Honestly, I don't know what I expected. Maybe nothing. Maybe some forgotten furniture or boxes of tax documents. Maybe things she wanted me to find to confuse me, manipulate me, hurt me. But what I saw stopped me cold. Inside was a life I thought we'd thrown away years ago. A curated collection of moments. Memorabilia. Pieces of me, of us, stored with eerie care. Like a museum exhibit no one was allowed to see. My old denim jacket, the one she said was too beat up and tossed during our last spring cleaning, was hanging on a hook. Still smelled faintly like cedar and road trips. Next to it was a shoebox full of concert wristbands, ticket stubs, and crumpled gas station receipts from a cross-country trip we took in 2017. I knelt and opened one of the plastic bins. Inside was a stack of letters. Some I had written to her during our first year of dating. Others were notes she'd left for me. Sticky notes that once lived on our fridge or coffee table. "Don't forget to smile today. You were snoring, but I still love you." Things I assumed had been lost or tossed without a second thought. There was a Ziploc bag with our son's first drawing, a stick figure version of our family, back when he was 5. I'd assumed she threw it away during one of her minimalist phases. But here it was, flattened and preserved like it was sacred. And next to it, in a padded envelope, was the lighter I gave her on our 2nd anniversary. Brass. Engraved with the words, "Still burning." She said she lost it 2 years ago during a beach trip. She cried when she realized it was gone. But it wasn't lost. It had been here all along. I felt the walls of the unit close in. My breath caught. My hands shook as I picked up a photo frame. Us on the pier, wind in our faces, her arms around my waist. It wasn't the photo that gutted me. It was the fact that it had dust on it. She hadn't been here recently. This wasn't a fresh attempt to win me back. This had been building for a long time. Everything inside that space was a ghost. Not of her, not even of us, but of the version of me she kept on standby. A backup. Failsafe. Plan B. It wasn't love. It wasn't guilt. It was contingency. That realization hit harder than any affair. She hadn't stored these things because she missed me. She stored them because she needed me, the idea of me, to stay intact. Like a sealed emergency exit in a building she no longer lived in, just in case the new one caught fire. I sat down on the cold concrete floor and let it all come crashing down. The anger, the confusion, the ache of having been reduced to an insurance policy. My life, our life, reduced to boxes in a metal room she never expected me to open. I stayed there for hours, going through each container. Some of the items were things I barely remembered. Others felt like pieces of a life I had fought tooth and nail to build, now locked away in a place I didn't know existed. She hadn't just been lying to me in the present, she'd been archiving the past behind my back. Why? To tell herself she wasn't a monster? To hold onto me in case the affair didn't work out? To hedge her bets? The cruel genius of it all was that it worked. I was there, wasn't I? Sitting on the floor of a storage unit, surrounded by my own history like I'd died and left her to curate the highlights. I picked up the jacket and slipped it on. It still fit. Still had the frayed cuffs and the small rip near the elbow she always threatened to sew but never did. I looked down at myself and didn't recognize the man I saw. I didn't go back to the apartment that night. Instead, I sat in my car, parked just outside the unit with the door pulled halfway down. I stared into that half-lit space for a long time. The part of me that still loved her, that still wanted to believe she was sorry, was dying right there on that floor. And as painful as that was, it felt like progress. The next morning, I returned with a duffel bag and packed a few things. Not to keep, just to remind myself of what was real, of what mattered. I took the drawing, the lighter, and a note she wrote on a napkin during a camping trip. Even here, you make everything better. I didn't take the photo. I didn't take the jacket. I left them for her. Maybe one day she'd come back and see the empty hooks, the half-packed shelves, the space where the dust had been disturbed, and realize that even her plan B had limits. Maybe she'd see what it looked like when the fallback option finally walks away. It started with a text. Simple. Unfamiliar number. No introduction. Are you Aaron's husband? I stared at the message for a full minute before I replied. Ex-husband. Who's asking? The response came fast. My name is Lauren. I think we should talk. It's about Justin. I froze. Of all the names that could have followed, his was the one I was both expecting and dreading. I set the phone down on the kitchen table and walked away, poured a glass of water, stared out the window like the answer might be hiding in the trees. I debated whether to write her back. I'd spent weeks trying to erase their names from my daily thoughts, trying to scrape off whatever was still clinging to me. But something about her message, it wasn't hostile. It wasn't vague. It was precise. Confident. Like she already knew what I knew and maybe more. I texted back. Where and when? We agreed to meet at a cafe near the water. Neutral ground. Public, quiet. The kind of place where no one asks too many questions. She arrived exactly on time. Lauren was taller than I expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp features and eyes that didn't blink much. She wore no wedding ring. Her hair was tied back, no makeup, and her posture screamed composed rage like a cracked vase held together with fishing line. She sat across from me without a greeting and slid her phone across the table. Watch this, she said. I pressed play. It was grainy surveillance footage, likely from a hotel. I recognized the lobby instantly. Portland. The same trip. Aaron was laughing, leaning against Justin like they were college kids sneaking out of a dorm. She kissed him. Long, slow, deliberate. Her hand was on his chest. His thumb brushed her jaw. In the next clip, they were seated in the lounge. The camera had audio this time. It was soft, but clear enough. Aaron, he's clueless. Justin, think he suspects anything? Aaron, smiling, no. Trevor's predictable. He doesn't want to believe it. He still thinks I'm too good for him. Justin, he's not wrong. Aaron, laughs just a little longer. After the holidays, everything settles. I hit pause. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Lauren didn't flinch. She just sipped her coffee like she'd already lived through it a dozen times. I found it on a USB he left in our home office, she said. He must have downloaded it to relive the memory. My hands trembled slightly. How long have you known? I had suspicions for a while, she said. The same signs you probably saw, gym late at night, work trips that didn't make sense, a phone that never left his hand. But I didn't have confirmation until 3 weeks ago. I confronted him and he admitted it. I exhaled, sitting back. So he told you everything? She smirked bitterly. Not even close. He gave me a sanitized version. Said it was emotional, brief, regrettable. Said he never meant to hurt me. Typical. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. That's why I contacted you. I needed to know the rest. And I thought maybe, so did you. There was a long pause between us. I watched her. She wasn't here for drama. She wasn't trying to *p*nize her pain. She was just doing what I had been doing since the moment I found that jacket, trying to understand. I walked out before she came back from Portland, I said finally. Left a note. A ring. Haven't been home since. She nodded like she already knew. You made the right call. I thought maybe, I hesitated. Maybe it was just a fling. That it would fall apart on its own. It didn't, she said. Not immediately. Lauren opened her purse and pulled out a printed email. This was sent 2 days after Christmas. He told her he loved her. Promised to move out by the end of January. Said he was done pretending. I didn't want to read it, but I did. Her name was in the subject line. The message was filled with inside jokes, secret references I didn't understand, and sentences that boiled my blood. I think about you constantly. You're the real thing. I'm tired of playing house with someone I don't recognize anymore. Lauren slid a second page across. And here's what he said to me that same week. It was an apology. Cold. Scripted. A breakup letter disguised as confession. He blamed stress, disconnection, years of drifting apart. Not once did he mention Aaron. Not once did he own up to what really happened. They always find a way to make themselves the victim, she said. I nodded, trying to swallow the rising taste of nausea. Do you know if they're still seeing each other? Lauren shrugged. As of last week? Yes. But things are unraveling. Slowly. The fantasy's wearing off. Good, I said, colder than I meant to. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I thought knowing would make me feel better. It didn't. But it did help me decide. Divorce? Already in motion. I served him papers the day after I found the video. Haven't looked back. We sat in silence again, the kind that forms when two strangers realize they were collateral damage in someone else's romance novel. Lauren stood, slipping her phone back into her coat pocket. I didn't come here to bond, Trevor. But I thought you deserved to know how deep it went. I appreciate it, I said honestly. She paused, then turned back. They didn't destroy us. They just exposed themselves. As she walked away, I watched her disappear into the crowd, her figure sharp against the gray light. There was no relief in me, no closure. Just the echo of Erin's voice from the video burned into my memory like a scar I'd carry for the rest of my life. Trevor's predictable. Maybe I was. Maybe that's why she chose me in the first place, because I was safe, reliable, someone who would never guess she was lying until it was too late. But now? Now I was someone else. That night, I returned to the apartment and sat in the dark. No music. No lights. Just the steady hum of the city outside my window and the beating of a heart I was trying to put back together. I picked up the lighter from the storage unit. Clicked it open. Closed it again. Over and over. Still burning. But not for her. Never again for her. I returned to the house weeks later only to grab some legal paperwork. Erin was there. She stood in the kitchen like she'd been waiting for me, eyes wide, voice soft, rehearsed. I ended it, she said. I was scared. But I want to fix this. I didn't answer. Just set a folder on the table, hotel records, photos, the video Lauren had shown me, and the key to the storage unit. She reached for it but stopped halfway, her face draining of color. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered. You didn't hurt me, I replied. You replaced me. She didn't cry. Didn't beg. Her silence was the most honest thing she'd given me in months. I turned to leave. She didn't follow. This time, I didn't look back. I moved to a coastal town, quiet, unassuming. Rented a room above a repair shop, picked up part-time work at a library. Days were filled with salt air, dog-eared books, and no expectations. I didn't talk about Erin. I didn't need to. Sometimes I'd hear from Lauren. A check-in. A nod from the only person who truly got it. One day, a package arrived, no return address. Inside was an old photo from a family trip. On the back, in her handwriting. You were a good man. I was too empty to see it. I placed it in a drawer, not to forget, but to stop carrying it. And with that, I let go.